Welcome into another episode, Nightmare.Explorers the Other Side. Tonight, I welcome in Jay Hill. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Just, I think like everybody else in the Midwest, trying to survive this bone-chilling cold.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. You're a little north of me, but I'm still catching a lot of the ice cold breezes that come down here.
Yep.
So
But yeah, it was so cold up here today that about noon yesterday, they shut down all the schools and everything.
yeah, they shut down the schools here too. So
So it was kind of nice, impromptu day off because I work in a school and my kids were home. So just kind of trying to keep them occupied all day.
right, right. Yeah, I'm just basically, taking care of stuff here at home, but yeah, it's just I didn't even go outside in my car. I didn't go anywhere today. I just stayed home and I wasn't gonna my wife was hoping that they were gonna cancel for work, but they did not. So,
Yeah, I never
but
went
yeah.
outside once. My wife was working from home today because they closed her office too. So,
Huh. Yeah. So yeah.
all right. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, get a little background.
Okay. My name's Jay Hill. I am a psychic medium, a podcaster, and a paranormal investigator. Um, I do walkthroughs for paranormal teams, via virtual or in person when they are having trouble trying to figure out about a location if they're not sure what's there or not, then they contact me and I'll see if I can't help them out. Um, I don't charge for anything for that because it's something that I like to do. But
Okay.
yeah, so I've been in the field for a long time. Been podcaster for 4 or 5 years now. I've got several different shows, um, probably four of them, and I have a music show. I talk to metal musicians, and I actually am working on a book. So it's kind of like an autobiography type book, but it gives a little bit of an um, in-depth view of who I am and what I've gone through in the last 53 years, 54
Okay.
years. So, so yeah, I am 54. I will be 55 in May. Um, I'm really starting to feel like it.
I get that.
you know so um but yeah, I do other things with paranormal teams. I'm part of a paranormal team called K2 Paranormal down in Tennessee. I'd usually will take the 6 hour drive sometimes to do an investigation in that area, but as of late, the last time I went to Waverly Hills and it took a lot out of me and it was really taxing. So but but yeah, so my main goal is to be able to help people and to help them to understand who they are, especially if they have gifts, and just all around help people.
Yeah.
When people have issues, they come to me and they have questions, and I must have a my wife has it too, where we must have a sign on our head that or our forehead that says, "Tell me your whole life story."
Okay.
So, so yeah, but that's kind of me in a nutshell.
All right. So, when did you like really, get into the paranormal and like, realize that you had abilities?
I the paranormal has always been a part of my life, ever since I can remember. Um, as far as gifts, probably when I was young, and even in my before I was 10, maybe more so in my teens, and then in my 20s. I mean, I had quite a few different experiences, and um, so yeah, it wasn't something that I just kind of woke up and said, "Hey, I want to do this." It was something that I was always fascinated with it. There
Okay.
was a reason why I knew my gifts, and I ran from them for years, with drugs, alcohol, whatever. And then 2013, I had a stroke that kind of put everything back into perspective. It was one of those things where, hey, you ran far enough to where you had a choice to make. And
Hmm.
so I chose to clean my act up. And as soon as I did that, then the things that I was running from in my spiritual gifts and whatnot were at my door, and I just had to open it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
So for the paranormal, what was like the first experience that happened to you that you can recall?
um, when I the notable one was I was in high school. I was living in a house downtown here, um, in Wisconsin, Lake Geneva. The house itself was part of a bigger house. I mean, it was like a huge. It was a corner lot house that had a servant's quarters and like a barn in the back, and it was just back way back in the early 1900s. Well, it had been many things over the years, and my parents wanted to move back from. We were living in Colorado at the time, and she wanted to move back to Wisconsin. So the only place that she could find was this house on this corner downtown, and um, we moved in. The first moment when me and my sister first walked in, we knew something was there. And it was, I loved that house. And there were some, lots of different things. We had doors locking on their own. Doors would be open and closed. We'd see shadows. Um, I got touched a couple times. My dogs would see them. Um, I had a friend that stayed over overnight one time, and in my bedroom I had two single beds because my bedroom was big enough where I could have friends come over and hang out, whatnot. Um, I woke up one night and my friend was huddled in the corner of the bed, and he was freaking out. And I asked him, I said, "What is your problem?" I was just like, I just woke up, and he said, "There's somebody in the hallway and they keep going down the hallway up into the attic." And I said, "Well,"
Wow.
I said, that's impossible. Well, it's not, but I mean, I told him, I said, "That's not what you think." He said, "I heard the door open," because on the end of the hallway there was a staircase that went back to the back kitchen, which is a servant's staircase.
Okay.
And right at the top of that is a doorway off to the right that you can go up into the attic. Well, there's a screen door that was on that. And it had been there for many years because nobody goes up there. There's a screen door and a big door. And he swears nuts and bolts that that door would creak open and he would hear somebody open that door and go upstairs and stomp upstairs or up into the attic. And I said, "It's locked. There's nobody here." Would swear that there's somebody here. He would see shadows because we had a night light across the hallway from the bathroom above the sink, and it would shine underneath the door. And living in a really super old house, some of those door jambs, the doors themselves were a little off the ground, and
Yeah.
so you could see things underneath them.
Yep.
So the shadows would go back and forth, and then so I physically got up and open the door and he's freaking out. And I said, just relax. I went down the hall and I showed him. I said, you can't open this because we didn't have a key. It was locked. And needless to say that he did not stay, he didn't do another sleepover,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just something, I love the house. Right now it's a Chinese restaurant.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that's probably the where it really kind of solidified for me that I was really into the paranormal, or I should say the paranormal was into me.
Yeah. So is there like any other experiences that really stand out besides that one, like that happened after that?
Um, yeah, it was probably in the same house. Um, there was three bedrooms upstairs, and at the end of the hall, it was like an L shape, and the bedroom was it was like a game room. I mean, you got to remember this was back in the 80s. I would sit in that last room on the left. I would sit back there and watch and tape MTV's Headbangers Ball,
Oh yeah, I
you
remember
know.
that.
Yeah, and tape videos off of it on my VCR, and so that's kind of gives you the date for that. But there was one time my sister was calling me that the dog was freaking out, and so I stood outside the door. I went from my room down the hall and stood outside the doorway of the other room, and the dog was just barking like insatiably. I mean, just would not shut up. And then as soon as I stepped one foot in the room, the dog stopped, looked at me, and then went and got up on the couch and laid down. Whatever was there left as soon as I entered that room.
Interesting.
Hmm. So yeah. Um yeah, I mean there was a lot of locked doors. My sister would play a prank on me. She would lock my door before I would because I was working in a dime store as a stock boy, and my sister would lock my door. So when I come home, I'd have to use my driver's license
Okay.
to get in, and um, so she finally admitted to that, and I said okay, and I said stop doing that. I'm ruining my driver's license,
Yeah.
and so the next day. It happened again. And so I went into a room and I said, I thought you were going to stop doing it. She says, I didn't do it, I swear. And so I went in my room and I said out loud, I said, okay, I said, this isn't fun anymore. I said, please stop. If my sister admitted to it, just whoever it is that's doing this, just stop. And then it never did it again.
Hmm.
Now, could I say my sister was lying to me? Sure.
Right.
Who
Yeah.
knows? I mean, we were teenagers, but, um, oh, that was my first that house was my first time that I actually saw a full body apparition.
Really.
I was sleeping in my room and I just like I kind of got like abruptly woke up, and so I sit up in my bed and there's this woman standing there in period clothing, standing there looking at me, 2 feet from my face at the end of the bed, and I'm like, and I was more upset that she woke me up than anything else. I wasn't scared. I wasn't, all I said was what, and then I rolled over. I rolled over to go back to bed, and I dreamt of I dreamt of my grandfather, who I never met my grandfather. That was my dad's dad. Well, at the time, my dad was sick with cancer. So it was just really weird that that transition when I saw her and then I laid back down and I was like all of a sudden transported into this onto this farm where isn't too far from my house and where my dad grew up um part time. And I was talking with my grandfather, and my grandfather said, your dad loves all you kids, I need you to be there for him and to give him support and to let him know that, things are going to be okay and this and that, blah, blah,
Hmm.
blah. And I was like, okay,
That's really
well,
interesting.
I had never seen him. And the next morning I went down and told my mom this, and she said, well, what did he look like? And I said, well, he had, this and coveralls and, I described him and this and that. And my mom got a picture of him from this old box of photos. And I said, yeah, that's him. She says, don't ever tell your father that dream. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I won't. So I didn't, So then, probably 2 years later, my father passed away. And it was just, it was really kind of surreal.
Yeah, for sure.
Hi.
Hey, nice of you to
Hey,
join the party.
Sorry, my night shift brain got the best of me today.
Now it's all good. Or is it the cold
yeah.
weather?
I don't know, it's probably both. I'm a little tired yet, but I'm waking up.
No, that's all right. We were just, he just Jay just introduced himself and we're talking about a couple of his earlier paranormal experiences. So we haven't really gotten to the nitty-gritty yet.
Mhm.
All right.
So yeah, Jay is a paranormal investigator, a psychic medium. He's got, what did you say, four different podcasts that you do?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm kind of
he's a
busy.
busy guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds like it.
Okay, so let's go back. So was there any more to that story about the dream, or was that the end of it?
No, that was pretty much it. Um, every once in a while, I'll drive by that house. It was a farmhouse, and I would drive by it, and I always wanted to go up to that house, and I've never been in that house or anything. I just knew that when we first moved there back from Colorado, and my mom, dad took us down that road and was telling us, this is where your dad kind of grew up, and he had two, three jobs, and because he was the youngest of like 14 kids,
Okay,
so he was the only one that was born in the hospital.
okay,
So yeah, so it was kind of cool. So every once in a while, if I have to go to a different town or whatever, and I have to go that way, I'll always drive by that place, But
yeah.
but yeah, so
So after that, like, down the road, what really got you wanting to become a paranormal investigator, and when did you start that?
I never really stopped. I always wanted to. Um, it wasn't really because I'm one of my podcasts. I have a podcast called Paranormal Memoirs, and I talk about how my transition, where my life was really kind of up and down and kind of in shambles back in the 90s after my first divorce and whatnot. And I was using um, a plethora of different substances, so to speak. And um, I was dating a girl, basically kind of shacking up with her, and she she knew that it was just there was something different about me, and she thought that she knew that I was not doing very well, so she introduced me to somebody for like to like get help with my addictions and stuff like that, and it was early on, and he says, I really can't help you. He said, but I know somebody who can. And that's when I went to see this Baptist minister, and he was talking to me about accepting Christ and all this other stuff. And I said, okay, well, I decided to do that. And once I did, it was like somebody took the veil off my face and I could see things a lot clearer and I felt different and I felt better and this and that, da, da. Well, that move pissed off the darkness because I was surrounded by a lot of darkness.
Okay.
And that really, really pissed him off. And so probably within next day and a half, 2 days, um, me and my girlfriend at the time, we were kind of, sleeping in different rooms and we weren't really getting along. So there was a two-bedroom apartment and I was sleeping in one. And there was the one night I was sleeping in this bed and it was dark but I could hear something across from me on the side of the bed, which is a closet, and it sounded like rustling. And that's when my paranormal curiosity really kind of came to life more so then. So I kind of turned into my paranormal investigator, put that hat on, and
Yeah.
I was asking questions and, somebody there who's there. And then I heard a growl. And then I was like, okay, I've never heard that. So then I didn't hear anything after that. So I went to sleep only to be woken up with a negative entity. I call it the darkness, was sitting on my chest, um, yelling in my face. I was terrified and it said, how could you do this to me? We own you. You can't leave. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. We're gonna take away your firstborn child or your firstborn
Wow.
son. We're gonna do this. I mean, oh yeah, I mean the list went on. And I actually had a dream, right, like a vision right after that of losing a child, and that was terrifying.
Oh, for sure.
And I was thrown to the floor. And then after that, I really don't remember anything after that. I woke up back in bed. So, um, for doing the right thing, no good deed goes unpunished, I
You're
guess.
right.
So after that, I really had to get out of there because the place I was living in it was the only at that time when I was in my early 20s, um, that was the only red house on the block. It was Barnyard Red, and
Okay.
it was a super old house. And the how the to get up to our apartment, they didn't have doorbells back then. They had chimes right in the middle of the door where you just chimed it so
Yep.
that people could hear that somebody was at the door. That's how old this place was. Now, when we had first had moved in, and I knew that there was something there. It was because I was getting visions of blood, of death, and it was terrifying. I was like, "What?" And so I asked my sister, um, who was gifted as well. We were only a year apart, and we're the only two people in our family that had red hair. And so, um, I was trying to get her to come an hour away and to check this place out with me. Well, she couldn't. And we decided to move in and take it. But after a while, it was more or less seeing shadows and, felt like somebody was watching you.
Yeah.
Um, the the best story that I have for that house or that apartment is I was taking a shower one time and I was there by myself and my girlfriend at the time was at work and I was taking a shower and I heard the door open to because the shower is like right next to a small bathroom and it was like right there and so I saw what I thought was my girlfriend at the time walking through. So I'm talking to her and, how's your day? And I'm getting no response. And I'm like, what is the deal? And so I'm just finishing up. And then I heard the door close. I'm like, oh, so I guess she didn't want to talk to me. So when I was done and I came out of the bathroom, she had walked up the stairs and opened the door. And I said, where'd you go? And she says, what do you mean? And I said, I just saw you. You were in the bathroom. I was trying to talk to you. And she said, oh, that's impossible. She says, I just got home from work.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, okay. So that was probably a notable
Oh, for sure.
experience that I had with that place. And yeah, there was the living room where I'd watch TV by myself, and there was somebody always standing behind me looking at me. And once I left there, I felt a little bit better. There was some darkness there that obviously I didn't really want to have any part of.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah.
All right. So when you started going out and investigating, what was the first location that you investigated?
Um, it was kind of those two houses that I talked about. I did a
Okay.
little mini investigation back then, but I did do later on, way later. Um, I did an investigation of it was a hotel that's in town here that's called the Maxwell Mansion, and that was one of the first buildings in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, which was from 1856. And notable people have been there, um, presidents, Congress people. I mean, it's been one of those because it's only an hour north of Chicago,
Okay.
you know. Yeah, and so anybody from Chicago and to get away, come to Lake Geneva. We had a big, a mob presence here back in the day too. You know, so that place probably the investigation for that was a major one. Excuse me, and I have this video on my YouTube page, and it's on my TikTok page too. Um, we had a spirit box, a big one that I created, and we were talking, asking questions. We were down in the basement of this building that's now a speakeasy, and we were asking it questions, and "Do you know what year it is?" And I can't remember what it said, but then we said, it's so and so and so and so, and then we got bullshit
Hmm.
right after that, which that was kind of funny. But I also had a recorder on the bar that I was asking, if anybody was there, who's here, I'm going to set this right here if you have anything to say. And we went outside and waited a little bit and then came back in. I was reviewing the tape and the voice came on here and where's Suzanne? Clear as day. And I'm like, where's Suzanne? Who's Suzanne? Well, come to find out that Suzanne, well, her short name is Susie. She was a spirit that would frequent that place, and she was from the 1920s because of the fact that she was one of those. Um, I don't know if she was a dancer, she was a singer, or what, but she was uh, back in the mob scene or whatever.
Okay.
But so the speakeasy it fits, and every once in a while she's there. I haven't been there in a while, but um, yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, I caught a shadow. I caught a shadow on my phone. I walked into one room and the shadow was there and then it disappeared. And as soon as I went to look, there was nobody there. There was no way that that person could have gotten
Yeah,
away from me. So I went, I had it on video. I thought I saved it, but I didn't delete it. And I went to go show one of my friends that was there, and it wasn't there. It was
interesting.
completely gone. Yeah. So we ran into that electric electrical annoyances. That's
Oh,
best
I've
thing to
been
describe.
had many electrical annoyances in my
Yeah.
time investigating.
Yeah,
It's
speaking of
frustrating.
the last one,
What?
just the last one.
Oh, that one wasn't even that bad.
Well, still, it was irritating.
Yeah, no, the Masonic Lodge down in Keysburg, Illinois, that one was crazy with all the footage that was missing on the camera and IR lights not working and yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
So we briefly touched on it before we started the podcast about Waverly Hills. So what was that experience like for you and why was it underwhelming as you said?
Well, as soon as I got to Kentucky, and we stayed in a farmhouse, my team did, and it actually was supposed to rumored to be haunted. We didn't know that. What's funny was they had um hot air balloons around at that time, and there was one hot air balloon that was coming close to us, and I swear, I mean, we could like it, just right over the ridge line, and they went right over the house, and you could talk to these people, and they said, "Oh, hey, somebody's staying in the haunted house," and I'm like, "We didn't know it was haunted," and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's haunted," and they kind of floated away. I'm like, "Huh, that's weird." Did we have any experiences? I kind of sensed a few things, different things here and there, but no. But anyways, so when we finally went to Waverly, it was at night, and we did the whole walk tour and this and that, and
Hmm.
it just it was it was okay. And then after that was over, we kind of were able to walk around by ourselves, but it was underwhelming because of the fact that there were so many people there still, and if you really wanted to get anything concrete, you had to do it by yourself. There
Oh,
was
for sure. Yeah.
too many people there that were, you would think you were getting something, but it was somebody from another group that was just happened to come in your shot or
Hmm.
whatever. A buddy of mine did get some stuff on the roof. Um, I kind of let my guard down a little bit to experience that, and I probably shouldn't have because my whole body hurt. I mean, and it was I didn't feel well, but a lot of it had to do with the emotional strain of it was there was so much disappointment that I could sense and feel. And it wasn't from me, it was what was around me, what was there. So many people that wanted to get healed and helped, but
Hmm.
never did. So it was kind of like their emotions were kind of staining those hallways of despair, and they never were able to help me, and I for whatever reason, and it was just. But I will say that my favorite spot in Waverly Hills is um, where they would have all the patients line up where they could get fresh air
Yep.
from all the open windows or open spaces. You know what I mean? Where they looked like they were. I can't even remember what it was. It's kind of like a patio type
Yeah, I
thing.
can't
You know
remember
what I mean?
what the exact name is, but I know what you're
Right.
talking about.
But I would walk that back and forth, and I would just stand there, and I would feel more at ease. You know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
I would understand that would make people feel better by being outside or experiencing the fresh air and this and that. But it just it wasn't. I don't know. I was after that, my whole body hurt so bad that I had a hard time sleeping, and then I had to drive next morning 6 hours, 6.5 hours back to Wisconsin, and yeah, it took me a week to recover from that. I just yeah. So would I do that again? No. I have no desire to go back. Um, would I do another asylum? Possibly, you know. Um, but yeah, it had I don't like to drive like I used to, and I
Yeah.
love driving. But when you're driving that, you have to go around big cities. That traffic is white knuckled stressful enough, you know.
Oh yeah.
So,
But yeah, I've been to Waverly twice, and it's like the first time we went, it was like for one of the, overnight group investigations, and I totally get what you're saying. There's like so many people around, and it's like, granted, we didn't see a
it's
lot of them.
frustrating. Yeah.
Granted, we didn't
It's
see a
so
lot of them, but when we're trying to do stuff, all of a sudden they just walk right in the room,
yep.
no
Yep.
regard to you being in there.
Right. Yep.
And then
Yeah.
I've done it with a smaller group this last summer where there's only like 15 of us, which is fine because then you're not really seeing anybody. There's like probably 5 people I never saw that entire night.
Mhm. Right. Right. So if you can afford to do it a small group by yourself overnight, that is the way to do it.
Right.
Just because, when you've got so many people there trampling over everything, it's like you don't know, like you said, they just kind of come into your area, your shot or whatever you're doing, and it's frustrating,
Yeah,
you
so
know.
for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of jump around here a little bit now. So what was it? A month or so ago when I first came across you, you had made a post on Facebook that you wanted to join a podcast because you had stuff you want to talk about. What was that about? And what's on your mind?
Oh, stuff that I want to talk about. So I I'm creating a documentary film company. I want to be able to do my documentaries, um, kind of showing untold history. I have a camera guy that I've been friends with for a while, and he's very good. And it's just raising the funds to be able to do that. You know, it's one of those things where I've kind of put it off and I've tried to put money towards it, but it's costly,
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I want to do is go to Gettysburg. I have this calling to go to Gettysburg. I have ancestral ties to Gettysburg,
Okay.
you know. So it's one of those things where I want to be able to do that and to be able to show different sides of history that people don't know about, whether it be spiritual, whether it be, you know, uh, reality or a story that nobody has heard of. I want to be able to, I know that there's stories there,
Oh,
regardless of all
definitely.
the little, the common ones where everybody knows this and knows that. And, I want to be able to get into different locations that aren't heard of, or aren't popular because there's a story there. And that's part of why, I wanted to be able to be on some different podcasts because of the fact that I'm kind of my own pitchman.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to be able to try to raise the funds to do that. Now, and now in this day and age, it's excuse me, it's hard to get to raise funds for that. I've
Oh,
had couple different
yeah.
campaigns that never went anywhere. But I felt like this was the right time to do this. I still have it up. I have it up on my page. I have it up on my TikTok. I have it up, so but I want to be able to tell people also that part of doing these documentaries and part of doing this reveal for history, that untold history, is that you never know when somebody's going to hear a story that resonates with. And once it resonates with somebody, it could possibly resonate with somebody else, where
Yeah.
it could help somebody else. And so that's where my thought process is. I'm not doing it for fortune and fame. I want to be able to let people have a moment to think, this really affects me positively, or
Yeah.
this is a great story and I want to be able to share this. Somebody didn't know, a family member who didn't know about this person or that person in the Civil War, or, in Gettysburg or whatever. And I want to kind of bridge those gaps, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And help people to seriously watch a program that they could actually take interest in. Nowadays, ghost shows are a dime a dozen, man.
Hmm.
And that is something that at one point I thought that that's what I was going to do. And I'm like, no, that once I realized that wasn't it, I was like, yeah. So eventually, I came to this being on the right path of history, of telling untold stories and helping souls and spirits, you know what I mean? There's so many there, so many that are lost, so many that are in loops, so many that,
Yeah.
and it makes me sad. And I want to be able to help change that. And
That's
I know
awesome.
that by doing a documentary and showcasing that, but uncovering the truth of history, whether it be good or bad, but people need to know that this is where we came from.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, like one
Excuse
of
me.
my friends, she's been out to Gettysburg numerous times. And like she was on the podcast, what was that, Courtney, a couple weeks ago?
Hmm.
Kennedy. And like so we're going out there in July to a couple locations. And then she was saying like, the stories that the people that work at these places in Gettysburg, they put a spin on it where it's like they're not telling you everything that happened and the truth.
Right, right, right. And that is where, by me doing what I'm trying to do with this documentary company, is be able to get to that truth. And number one, when somebody's spinning a tall tale, I kind of have an inkling that you're spinning a tall tale. You know, why don't you tell me the truth? Whether it be less entertaining or not, I still want to know that truth.
Yeah,
You know, I still want you to tell me it may not be glamorous, it may not be so exciting or this, that, but what are the small things that people don't want to talk about because they don't think it's going to be entertaining enough? It's
yeah,
not about entertaining. It's about the truth. It's about the history. It's about stories being told that were untold.
right.
And, so that's my view on that.
So, and then there is, so now, is there any more you want to add to that or?
No, just that. I mean, anybody that listens and whatnot that wants to donate to this campaign, that'd be great. I'm not expecting much of anything, but I have to start somewhere,
Yeah,
you know. I have a good vision of this, and if anybody has any questions about my vision of this, they can contact me through my email, which is spiritualrealm00101 at Gmail. So
yeah. So another post I saw you just put up, I think it was a week ago, about a podcast about time travel and the theories about time travel. That really
I
that
was
caught my attention.
that there's a two-part story to that. Okay, so at the time I made that post, I was watching a show called Timeless, and it was a three season series that was canceled. And I saw it for a long, I've seen it for that it was out there for a while because it was like it like ended in 2019. But I thought, man, I really wanted to try to get to watch it, and I could never bring myself. I just couldn't get into it. And then one day, last couple weeks ago, I started watching it, and I was like, man, this is really fascinating. I have so many questions about this. And that brings me to the second part of this was I'm a very prophetic dreamer. Okay, I've had visions for dreams. I've been other people in dreams that I've actually been to locations where I've dreamt being somebody else. Um, this this dream I had was I was standing at a table in a room, and there was another being there. I don't know. I couldn't see describe him. It looked like energy. So he just stood there, and he says, and he told me, he says, put in your code. And I said, what code? He says, put in your code. And so I went on the table, and I'm like, so I started pressing on the table, and all these numbers started lighting up, and they lit up. All of a sudden, part of the wall came up and separated, and inside that wall, there was a box, a wooden box, probably, I don't know, probably about the size of as high as a jewelry box, but
Okay.
but as wide as a um a manila envelope. You know what I mean? That wide,
Yeah.
but pretty tall. So so he says, "No, take it." And I take it's like cobwebs on it. It's so old. And I pull it out and I turn around, and this guy walks in this other door who looks like Christ. And I stand there and I hand it to him, and he didn't really say anything, and then turned around, and I was like, what's this? And I heard the words timekeeper, and then I woke up.
Interesting.
So yeah, so it was a very profound dream. Now, the guy that looked like that I was handing this box to, that looked like Christ, was in like plain clothes.
Hmm.
Wasn't a robe, wasn't nothing, but there was something about him. I was familiar. It was really weird. Now, if that would be him, that wouldn't have been the first time that I've had encountered Christ in a dream. You know what I mean? So yeah. So yeah, my ideas for time travel and some of the things and some of the topics, and yeah, that is still in the works. I'm looking for the right person to want to discuss that with me, and I don't think I can do it by myself.
Right. That's
So I'm kind of, it's, you need that yin and yang. You need
yeah,
that other half of that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. It's on the shelf. I'm still thinking about doing it. But it's got to be the right time to do that.
yeah, for sure. Well, it's kind of like for, you know, my podcast, I can been branching out and, talking about UFOs and extraterrestrials. And there
Mm-hmm.
it's like for doing those podcasts, again, it's like you finding the right person to
Mm-hmm.
join and talk on that podcast. And like for me, that's been Jessie. It's like we've done like five on that because
Yeah.
she's so knowledgeable on that where
Mm-hmm.
it's like if I'm doing something like that, I want her to join.
Right. 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 Yeah. And as far as aliens for me, um, that is kind of aliens and Bigfoot really do nothing for me because number one, aliens, they've been here for eons, and it's like no surprise. Okay, that's my opinion. More of a, I feel like I know that. As far as Bigfoot, that's a whole dimensional thing. I have no that's a whole. I could
Yeah.
probably make some Bigfoot people mad, so I don't really talk about it too much. But
Yeah.
I'm more of a spiritual, let's get you right with your chakras. Let's get you right with this on your path type thing.
Yeah. So speaking of Jesse, how did you meet her?
So my show, Paranormal, what was it? It was Studio Six Paranormal Podcast. It was my first one. And it just seemed to be that I was giving a couple people their first views, their first chance on a podcast. And which is fine. I had no problem with that. I was like, I would take anybody and everybody just because I that's what I wanted to do, you know. I wasn't very selective, and there's been a couple times I probably should have been, but um Jessie isn't one of them. She's one that I she was in that band, that metal band.
Yeah.
What was it? Extraction Point.
Yeah.
Okay. So um I saw her and I saw that she played bass and I thought, that's really cool. And I checked out their music. I'm like, that's really awesome. Like, really, I kind of like that. And something said, hey, you should probably have her on the show. And usually when I get to that point where when I tap people to be on the show, there's a reason. And not all the time, but the most of the time there's a reason. And with Jesse, it was Spirit basically saying, you need to have her on the show because she's gifted and she needs to grow with that. And I knew that. And I told her that. And now if you look at her, look at where she's at. And I don't take any credit for that. No, I just had her on my show and we became friends and I said you have, a lot of great things coming your way and this and that, but she knows that. And she was such a great guest. She was great to talk to, you know, and I still talk to her. I text her every once in a while and, she's close to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, she's one of my favorite guests.
Yeah. I had her first on the podcast last March, and it's just like she popped up in my friend suggestion feed, and something just drew me to her. And it's like,
Yeah,
got to get her
yeah,
on the podcast.
yeah,
And it was like a month later, my oldest daughter and I were down in Chicago for something, and we actually, met her in person, went out to eat with her and Steve, and you
yeah.
know, just since then we become great friends. We like text each other every day. She vents
Yeah.
and bitches and complains to everything about me, and vice versa.
Right,
But
right,
yeah, she needs to
right,
vent. She knows she can reach out to me.
right, right. Yeah, she's a great person. I loved having her on. I had her on a couple times, probably three times. All on different platforms that I've had. So yeah, she's she's a great guest.
Yeah,
Totally, 100%.
yeah. She went to Waverly with us last summer, and we'll be investigating a couple times with her this year. And yeah, she's definitely a character. No filter on that one. That's for sure.
No, I did a down in what was it, not Spring Grove, it was a pot. It was someplace in Illinois, and we both were at the library thing. They were doing a haunted walking tour, and me, I kind of grabbed her and said, "Okay, you're going to be my other half." And she's like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, you're going to be my other half." And so we walked through the small part of this town, and the things we came up, we were actually able to compliment each other and get validation for things that she saw. And our favorite part of that tour, because we had a group of probably 20 people behind us, and it was kind of cold, and we were walking, and I heard we were walking in an old part of this building, this church, and I heard um horse hoofs. I heard that, and I turned to her and she said, do you hear horses? And I said, yeah. I said, I hear horses. So that kind of validation was
Yeah,
nice. So we are kind of connected that way where we can kind of feed off each other. So yeah, it was. She's good. She's really good, and she's very gifted.
Oh, definitely. And it's like she always like, tries to downplay it and saying she's not. I'm like, oh no, you are.
Yeah, no, but that's what we do. I mean, being gifted, I'll always downplay my certain moments in my life with my gifts, but I know exactly who I am. I don't have to sugarcoat it. I don't have to lie about it. I just to tell the truth.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that. That if I don't see it, I don't say it, and that's what it's my mantra. I don't make shit up. You know.
Yeah. So what other plans do you have in store for this year, or just kind of winging it?
Well, I'm trying. Like I said, I'm still trying to get the funding for my film company, for my documentary film company, and I'm still trying to um work on my book, and I'm hopefully gonna be doing that this week. Start that, get going on that because I've been putting it off for too long. Um, yeah, and just you know trying to take it day by day, you know, and try to be more positive. And my my other motto is be better than you were yesterday. And I've been trying to do that. So, I just who I am.
That's a good motto.
Be as genuine as you can every day. So,
All right. Well, I don't think I really have anything else. I know Courtney is down there half asleep.
I'm awake. I
She
feel
needs
better now. I'm waking up.
she needs a pot of coffee.
I drink part of a monster, so even better.
Yeah, there you
all
go.
right.
I don't know if you have any questions at all.
Um, no, I feel like you did a pretty good idea, or pretty thorough questionnaire. Yeah,
Okay.
was anything that came up immediately.
All right. So one thing I like to do at the end of the podcast is, give you a chance to like, let people know where they can find you in your socials and, again, your email if they have any questions about your campaign, they can reach out to you.
Okay. Well, you can find me on Facebook under JAYD dot HILL. You can find me on TikTok as well. Is Studio Six Media. You can find that same on YouTube. Same on Instagram. You can find Paranormal Diner on Instagram. That's another one of my shows. You can find all my podcasts under Studio Six Media. The six is SIX, not the number. And then you can find that all, wherever you get your podcasts. I have a bunch of up there. My campaign, my link is on my TikTok. It's right underneath there, and I think I have it on one of my Instagram and on my Facebook page. If you have any questions about my campaign or any questions just in general for me, you can reach me at spiritualrealms0101 at gmail.com. Or you can send me a message on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. I'm not on X. I used to be on X or Twitter. Um, yeah, it's I'm kind of everywhere, but and I usually do keep up with my pages. But yeah, like I said, if you have any questions for me, you know where to contact me. And I just want to say thank you for having me on.
Yes, thank you for joining us tonight. And
Thanks
you
for
have a
coming.
yep, you have a great rest of your
Thank
night
you.
and we definitely will stay in touch.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep, you have a good night.
Too.
You too.
Bye.